This hard drive and it's actually broke, so I kind of have to pay for it now, so I'm going to be teaching you how to make a text edit. So I've already made everything, but since it was too much GB when I made the previous recording, I actually have to redo everything, so I'll explain how it works. So if you have an input, whenever you get the actual block, so let's get a fresh block, whatever you put in here, in this area of the of the input, it's gonna set it. For example, I put tree, it's gonna set this to tree. If I put in x0, it's gonna set this to 0, y, and then on and on. Anyways, first, there's three things we've got to do: setup, detection, and drawing. So when we do this, we have to first set up, which is the most obvious thing, because we don't want everything being like messed up and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that it always works, so we don't have to go manually set the size to 100 and everything like that, because then we're gonna have to do that separately. So it's gonna hide, it's gonna go to x and y. So if we put 0, it's gonna go to x0 and y0. Now it's gonna set size to 100%. We can even make a new input. We can just be a label saying size, and then put another one saying the input size, and you could set the size to that, but you can do that yourself. Anyways, it has to go to the front layer because it's GUI. So we're gonna have two variables. This is where it starts getting more confusing. We're gonna get a current asset, which is going to be like the costume. Make sure you have all of the costume numbers named. So 1 is the costume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And don't forget the 0. Anyways, it's gonna repeat the length of text. So imagine the length of text is 3. Okay, let's get this example. It's 6 letters, right? So it's gonna repeat this 6 times. Now it's gonna change the current number by 1, so it's already 0. So it's gonna be equal to 1. Then it's gonna set the current asset to letter 1. So it's gonna be this letter. If we were doing this example, the number 1 of text. That means letter 1 of text is going to be this one. Okay, now that it knows that it's actually that in the first letter is the letter 1, it's gonna switch the costume to letter 1, and then it's gonna change x by 12. The reason we're going to change x by 12 is because if we didn't change x by 12, I'll continue and I'll explain what's going to happen. So there's two ways we can do it. If you want a clean thing, then use create clone of myself, but stamp is also a very good option. I prefer stamp, even though it's pretty like pixely, because if you use stamp, then if you're like making a huge project or something, not something like Cookie Clicker or something, but anyways, then you're going to need to use a lot of clones. So if you're using these clones a bunch, then you're probably going to have to use the stamp tool, because it'd be more, better. Anyways, if we go to the stamp block, it automatically shows, since the main part is already hidden. Let's click on this. Clumped up. The reason why is because once it writes one letter, it doesn't change x. You have to change x, or else it's all going to be in the same position. So let's test it again. First, because we're using the stamp tool, so you don't use to delete this clone block. I'll take it out for the second example. With the laser. And then I'll click again. Perfect. If we do full screen, you can see that's actually a bit pixely, which for some people they don't like, but I actually prefer this. It's not that bad as people say it is. Now, I'll show you the second example. Create clone of myself. Now, let's look at it. Let's go get the block. Click on it. Now that's way smoother. I prefer this for vector games, so games that know how to use like for vectors. For example, like the Race Move game, but for pixel games. Use this clone. Let's hit the green flag. It deletes all of them. Well, that's it. Anyways, I'll continue using stamp. Get the create clone of myself gone. And anyways, that's how you make a text system. So there's many different things you can add to it, but overall, it's a pretty solid base for a text system. Thank you.
All my fellas. All my fellas.